Hello there. This is Swift on a very cold day, very cold and wet day. So I'm here just sort of sipping a bit of coffee and shivering my fingers off. It's kind of getting to that time of year where you can't really play anything because it feels like your fingertips are going to fall off. But that's not stopping Bestn00b right now. He's playing as this Death Core of Krieg, which means we're just going to get all game. So thanks, Bestn00b.
Right.
And his opponent is Rioja, or Bloodra1n, as they are more normally known. Playing as the Warlock with this sort of very default. Or is it? Actually, no, it's a DLC, I think. Yeah, DLC all-the-way scheme. So that's kind of nice. Here we are on Fedrid Folly, one of the oldest maps, I think, in Elite Mod. Originally made by London Duncan for a map contest that Relic ran back in 2011, maybe 2012, perhaps even earlier. And oddly enough, this is one of the most popular maps in Elite for good reason. But he was only a runner-up in the contest, and the map that won the contest and got into the game was Hive City. And I'm sure those of you familiar with Hive City will be able to tell me that, well, yeah, it's interesting. It's also kind of garbage, but, you know, visually very impressive, but to play, not so much. Bestn00b, though, staking his claim on Fedrid Folly at the moment. He's not gone completely left side, but he's made sure that he's locked down this VP over here, and it's quite an interesting playstyle, you know, going so aggressively for the resource points of Bloodra1n. Really meaning that Bloodra1n now has to play catch up again, because he's already capped this rec point once. Bestn00b can just sit there and wait for him. So it's quite interesting. He's using his last guardsman squad to just sort of pick up the rear a bit. Is Ascent Stomp ready, and Bloodra1n not going in for Banshees, which does make sense against the Lord General. Warlock, though, going in with a nice little destructor. I've heard over the years from, I think, people like Tex. I don't know if it was Tex. I think it was maybe, or someone like him, who said that they think the least favourable Eldar hero in this matchup is the Warlock. And I don't know if that's the same nowadays, given the Warp Spider's not nearly as powerful as he is, but I remember his reasonings were reasonably sound. Like, there's a lot that the Lord General can do to mitigate the AoE damage of the Warlock. Although there's not a lot that he can do to mitigate the damage of these two Shuris. Sure, he can do something about the suppression, but this is still a lot of damage. Oh, this is a weird one. It really doesn't know whether it wants to shoot. This is Schrodinger's firing arc currently. The Sentinel is both in and not in the firing arc. Ooh, that was a bit of an unlucky... Oh no, maybe it was a planned setup. Sometimes it happens when you click next to a unit. Well, I do it. I'll accidentally click next to a unit. But here we see, you know, Bestn00b really trying to be aggressive, and, you know, he's trying to go for that power farm, but currently he's actually not doing so much, and we see Bloodra1n taking the map back on the left side. And if anything, it might be Bestn00b that's losing out in this trade, because he's not even been able to take a single gem, and Bloodra1n is taking up the time of Bestn00b's entire army. And sure, he's only bleeding guardsmen, but during this time, you know, what has Bloodra1n been doing? Been getting the map. That's what Bloodra1n really needs right now. Now naturally these grenade launchers are pretty useful against the Shuris, but he still doesn't have an answer for that suppression. And slowly Bloodra1n claws it back. You know, all he needs are these 2 Shuri. He doesn't even need them both on the field. And, you know, Bloodra1n is going tier 2. Bestn00b is already halfway to tier 2, but you can guarantee this is not the kind of advantage Bestn00b was hoping to have when he clicked that tier 2 button. Still, he is a very dominant force in this game. You know, it's really quite undeniable, but don't count out Bloodra1n yet. Because if it's anything like the game with Dark Hero that I covered, well, Dark Hero is certainly he's a very tenacious kind of person. He doesn't give up, and it looks as if Bloodra1n is definitely of that mindset. He's not going to give up easily. He's not going to go, oh well, let's just throw in the towel and play again. This is someone who's used to Bestn00b's tricks.
Processing the lad's request. The requisition point's in trouble.
So finally making a move on the power on the left side. And Bloodra1n knows that it's basically going to take the attention of all of Bestn00b's army to take down power nodes. So in that regard, he's lucky. Now, see, something that Bloodra1n wasn't expecting here is this looks clear. Like, this looks like you should be able to shoot over it. But this wall here is actually a shot blocker. And it doesn't matter if you're standing on top of it, it doesn't matter if you're standing under it, it doesn't matter if you're standing 50 feet in the air. All of these walls here are shot blockers. And it's very confusing on this map. So these guys can throw a grenade over it, as they just did then, which was beautifully hit. Beautifully hit. But they can't shoot. None of them can shoot at each other. So that's something to watch out for. So right now we see, you know, the Chimera is out, but we do have some Wraith Guard to respond. And that's really not a bad idea. Bestn00b currently sort of probably wondering a little bit about what he's going to do next. And that Chimera suddenly doesn't feel nearly so impactful anymore, and you can see the map turning more and more red as Bloodra1n takes it back. Right now the Lord General really just stalling for time, but there's not a lot he can do. This Shuri is going to set up again. I wonder if he's going to get a Bright Lance at all. He is getting a Bright Lance, it is coming up. He could just fire at the Chimera right now, there's nothing stopping him. Could even kill the Scent. Slightly misfired though on those Wraith Guard. Absolutely tears those guys up, but the Warlock stands in front because the Warlock is stupid like that. Warlock here, however, is the only one surviving, and here we see a creeping barrage from Bestn00b, which is really just the perfect tool to disrupt an armor gun like this. And suddenly, what was looking so favourable for Bloodra1n is now Bestn00b's engagement. And Bloodra1n realises that because he got Cloak of Shadows on the Warlock, which honestly, it's not something that you see too often, but versus Imperial Guard, I can imagine that being incredibly effective because the Sentinel only has a short detection range, and what's it going to do, you know? He may end up forcing a Catachan purchase. It's unlikely, but then if he doesn't, it means he gets pretty much free reign to use it, so... Let's see, Bestn00b doing pretty well to punish the power in response, and we may be seeing some plasma guns that are. So we do have one squad with plasma guns to respond to the Wraith Guard, and of course plasma guns will also do well versus the weapons teams, because the front models have heavy infantry armor. It's a very brazen play here. but he knows that, to be honest, he doesn't need much damage to force this Guardian weapons team off the field.
Sir, that generator's taking hits.
Channeling runes, now that's an interesting one to see in tier 2. You normally sort of would expect to see that in tier 1 with some banshees, but it's not the worst idea right now. Bestn00b relegating his sentinel to a decapping unit, which similarly does make sense. Here we see Embolden be used on the Guardians. I guess these are Guardians. These Wraithguard just the absolute bane of IG in this matchup if you don't have the right stuff to deal with them. They're just so difficult to dislodge with Imperial Guard. Of course, the natural answer is Ogryns, but the Ogryns themselves are so easily controlled by the Shurikens, and things like the Warlock can do a lot of damage to them with Warp Throw, and generally quite a risky unit to use. But here we go, Stormtroopers grenading that weapons team and killing it, so it's incredibly unfortunate there for Bloodra1n. He's going to have to get this Shuriken out, because he's healing the Wraithguard instead. I'm seeing a bit of a standoff outside Bestn00b's power. See another creeping barrage. He does get the Shuriken out there. He's probably going to have to upgrade this one to a Bright Lance. He may in fact just get another one, because they were so effective. Getting a Wraith Lord, which is an interesting one. We do have Assault Kit on the Stormtroopers, so there's no threat of any Melticons, so I think that could be quite interesting. No upgrades on the Sentinel. And at the moment, Bestn00b is lacking any anti-vehicle.
Armor for the general on its way. We just need to find an edge.
But look at that left side. Decapped entirely. What was Bloodra1n's terrain is now just terrain? What were his points, I guess? Have now been decapped, and he's still not going to be able to get the cap here because the plasma damage is just going to be nasty. Here comes that Wraith Lord. Oh, here doesn't. Aha, Cloak of Shadows finally being used. Obviously the Warlock doesn't get Cloak, so you do have an idea of where things are. But not completely. Now it's been spotted. So I guess it started firing. That Bright Lance going to do a huge chunk of damage to the rear armor. What is this Sentinel going to do? It seems like Bestn00b has just decided, you know what? I don't need this Sentinel to be fighting anything anymore. I'm very happy to just have it go around and harass, and it's working. You know, look at how Bloodra1n has to split. And even here, he can just stomp anything that approaches the point. So the heavy weapons team is the natural choice in this case. Going to be getting that las cannon out immediately, probably going to be following up with the bubble shield. I'm not sure what damage reduction it gives. I think it's something... It's probably like 30% range damage reduction, right? I think. That'll really help against the Wraithguard. And obviously it gives that weapon knockback immunity. Ah, sniper rifle. Oh, this is a pretty nice choice versus this Eldar R9. Because now he can start outranging the Wraithguard, especially with those Assault Kit Stormtroopers. And that las cannon's range has gone from, I believe it's 65 to, or whatever 65 plus 30% is. Look at that. So much damage done from such long range already. Caravan just forced off by the Stormtroopers, so just sort of camping on that side. Sentinel looking in, looking for disruption, but Wraith Lord catches it, and it's no more. Lord General's slightly overextended here, not sure what he's doing. He did get the anti-suppression armor, the Carapace armor. which seems a little bit late, but I can understand that Bestn00b's plan was to rush tier 2. But now with the bunker coming down, we can see exactly what sort of playstyle he is going to be employing. Just sort of sit here and let Bloodra1n bleed out, basically. Which would work a lot better if he had one more VP. But he doesn't. Warlock just going in for some cheeky long range disruptors. Disruptors, even. The Stormtroopers just able to sort of sit on the maximum range here, out of sight of the Guardians, and just bully them. And that's kind of what we're seeing right now, just max range engagements. So the Warlock's getting closer with the Cloak of Shadows. There's now no detection at all. He knows the Warlock's there. He is probably pretty sure that the rest of the Eldar army is there. Now he knocks back the heavy weapons team. That's what it's called. And interesting, an Autarch call in. He's going to rush into the garrison, but he actually gets hit by so many of those grenades at once, and that is rough. In fact, right now the Autarch could have got inside the bunker, but obviously he didn't know if it was booby-trapped, so he didn't want to risk losing the Autarch as soon as he called it down. And that was such a decisive way to approach the engagement there from Bloodra1n. Now obviously he is able to reinforce the bunker, but not anymore because it has been stolen. Choosing to steal it with the Wraith Guard is a little bit risky, because if it is booby trapped then he would be saying goodbye to them, but just such an effective way there to chase Bloodra1n off. Interestingly, we see a heavy bolter deployed from the heavy weapons team here. He may get the Wraith Lord out. This is a shot blocker. I think he does. I think even with the range, he can't. This Wraith Lord is now safe, essentially.
Guardians are here.
Okay, we see Stormtroopers again. Got to get them out. He goes for the bitch slap attack. Interesting, a creeping barrage in retreat. He might. Just got away a little bit too quickly. What is Bloodra1n doing here though? Because this last cannon is set up and this is going to die. Oh, he says he's lost control. So this is the rare walker bug, which can happen occasionally, where walkers just lose all responsiveness. And I don't think anyone knows what caused it. I personally have never had it, but I understand that it does rarely happen to some people. But now a rare moment of quiet. God, it's amazing. You can actually hear the music clearly. It's a bit of an unfortunate loss there on that Wraith Lord. He really didn't need to die, but it's not exactly Bloodra1n's fault. We can just see this landscape slowly being torn apart. Chimera chassis in its own little crater. The Bestn00b is not content to sit on his laurels. He is gonna regroup and just come back. And that bunker still being alive is pretty critical to his efforts after losing the Chimera. Right now we just see these Guardians aren't quite enough. I wonder where his other Guardians are. Oh, they're on this side. He's got the las cannon sort of being hit by the Warlock, but not really. Very strange. In fact, he might end up losing it, which is really unfortunate on Bestn00b's part. Pretty strange. Autocannon though does come down on that heavy weapons team, and that's a pretty solid choice in general. he doesn't so much need the suppression to control Bloodra1n, given that, well, the Wraith Guard can't be suppressed. So just going to benefit a little bit from that. I think it's got extra range. It might have the same range as the Heavy Bolter. But that anti-all AoE damage, going to be so nice.
Message received.
And it's quite rare that you see things like the channeling runes coming down, especially this late. I do love the animation on that. It was one of my favourite things about Dawn of War 2. Like, for a 2009 game, this game is incredibly pretty. And some of the effects are just great. Like that. Sort of the hexagons.
We are under attack.
Really is just one of my favourite things about this game. It's so pretty, the effects are like so on point. It really doesn't look like a 2009 game. But enough of my rambling. Let's watch Wraith Guard destroy Imperial Guard. These guys level 4, which is really not surprising when you think about all the damage that they've been doing. This poor Lord General has, you know, he's been reasonably useful in mitigating what the Shuriken Cannon could do, but now it's gone, and he's kind of, he just sort of sits at the back and goes, "Oi oi men, get him," and then kind of takes a lot of damage and runs away. So it's interesting to note how Bestn00b has been using his Stormtroopers as this lone capping unit, because they are expensive, but they are also one of the perfect capping units, just because of their infiltration and their high damage capability to run around and infiltrate everywhere. But we see Bloodra1n, he's not like auto-targeting the Stormtroopers. He's like clicking to the location that he thinks they will be, so that he can spot them. Which most people wouldn't do. Because, you know, it's so much easier to just click on them. Now, this is interesting. Ogren's out. And a D-Cannon coming out for Bloodra1n. So, D-Cannon, pretty decent choice at this point. Pretty sort of natural thing for Eldar to get. But now that the Ogren's are out, it's kind of changed the game a fair bit. He's going to nade himself in retreat, which is pretty careless, but he does do a lot of damage to those Ogres. D-Cannon setting up the wrong way, which is absolutely classic. Will it get a shot off? That's the question. If he gets a nice shot off just here. Oh, looks like they... Why did it shoot there? What is the point? Ooh, these guys extremely low. How he didn't lose them, I don't know. But we can see, you know, Bloodra1n was forced off the field, but he managed his retreat very carefully. So, you know, in many cases players would still be coming out onto the field and Bestn00b would be consolidating that victory, but not anymore. Now, it is entirely possible that Bloodra1n will try to steal the garrison, and as you can see, Bestn00b is prepared for that to happen again. So what is he going to do with this weapons team setup that he's got? Because that grenade misses, and if those Ogres get close, then it's kind of the end for the weapons teams. Because they will do a stupid amount of damage to them. Once again, the Warlock facing down against those Stormtroopers, because that's kind of all they've been used for, just harassing on the sidelines. And interestingly, this right side has basically been uncontested now. Bloodra1n just able to hold on to it by virtue of Bestn00b really wanting to commit to this top side. He wants to get that IG turtle play style that this map really enables with those raised platforms. But Bloodra1n doing his best to stop that kind of thing from happening. This Autarch, however, might be a little bit too hasty. And, well, she won't be hasty ever again. Pretty strange play there. He can't claim that he lost control of her because there's no autarch bug as far as I know. And, wow. This is pretty horrific actually. Losing that new weapons team that he got and the autarch when he really didn't need to lose either of them. It should have just been a full retreat from that point. What the autarch was doing, I have no idea. New hotkeys. Well, it can happen if you're learning a new pattern of hotkeys, but it just seemed a bit reckless, really. Once again, Cloak of Shadows being used, but Bloodra1n kind of running out of things that he can properly utilise with Cloak of Shadows. You know, what's he going to do? Set up a D-cannon in their face? Well, probably not. As we can see, Bestn00b fully transitioned to this left side where he can just hold the 2 VPs and wait. Just bleed them down, and it looks as if he's getting another Stormtrooper squad to go and harass that right side. Now we see... Oh no, IG not going to commit to this. Okay, here come the Ogryns down the ramp. D-cannon fires away, and of course he activates the armor, but I'm not really sure what he's hoping to get out of that armor. I guess there is a weapons team now, so that does make sense, but it is an interesting one. Okay, ethereal slash from the Warlock, which makes a lot of sense. He does really need to deal with those Ogryns and a Manticore, so he cancels the Stormtroopers at the last minute, and he's going straight for the Storm Eagle upgrade. Bestn00b is absolutely sick of this Eldar gun line. I can't blame him. And the Warlock dies. And so does the bunker though. An interesting trade. And once again it's just this back and forth over this no man's land around the ramp.
Our advantage is slight.
And what is that? Oh, that's the autocannon. God, it makes such a loud noise. What we're seeing right now is Bestn00b absolutely overrunning Bloodra1n, who is in tier 3. He's got resources, but he's kind of losing steam, really running out of momentum, constantly replacing weapons teams. So let's see if he can break the cycle, because currently Bestn00b is, well, looking incredibly dominant. Yet to see a good singularity go off from the D-cannon as well. It's currently just sort of misfiring, and it's not going to hit again.
Won't be long, sir. Tech is at maximum capability.
You know, cool little effect, but sadly, nothing. New bunker goes down as Bestn00b decides, you know what, screw it. I'm going to set up right here. The D-cannon goes down, he's using the channeling room like that, which I guess makes sense, but... Okay, singularity. He's got some... Oh no! Eldritch. Little bit of a... Okay, that was weird. What happened there? Guardsmen are actually going to survive that. I don't know if that was the best Eldritch, to be honest. I mean, it does mean that he's going to be able to retake a lot of ground on this side. Probably. But I don't know if that really was the best use of that Eldritch. He didn't manage to bait Bestn00b into it. And it didn't kill anything, so... Again, Bestn00b just ignoring this left side. You do have to wonder what is going through his head. Why is he not bothering? You know, it really, he just needs to go and decap. But he really wants to commit his entire army. And I don't think he really needs to. These stormtroopers have been such a useful capping unit, and really they could still be. I mean, they are level 3. I just don't know about it. Warlock gets knocked over by a little use your head there. He is level 6 though. Doing quite alright. Let's see. Has he changed the armor? I think he's got the same one. Yeah. Still stand firm, which will be vaguely useful, I suppose. That is nasty. That D-cannon might die. No, doesn't quite bounce into the path of the missiles. Nearly does.
Roger, sir.
But once again, we see this standoff.
I am under attack.
And weirdly, Bestn00b's VP is decapped. I missed that completely. Not only is it decapped, he's not capping it. In fact, he's not really doing very much. He doesn't have a med bunker yet.
The situation has changed.
I mean, to be honest, I would say it's kind of lucky that Bestn00b has even managed to go tier 3, but since he's gone tier 3, he hasn't really done anything with it. Because he's not exactly swimming in power. And it's not as if there's been many threats on his power. I do have to wonder what he's planning here. It's very odd. Seer Council though, that's a nice response to the Ogrins. See, Bloodra1n, the difference between them is Bloodra1n is really capitalising on what his tier 3 can offer him. Which Bestn00b just isn't. And that blob is going to take so much damage from the D-cannon. If it fires. It's going for a singularity, but it's going to bug out, so Bestn00b was lucky, I guess. Seer Council kind of just jumping into a webway for that fight. Seemed a bit strange. Ogren's taking a huge amount of damage as they start to lose their worth to come tier 3. Bestn00b is moving something down to the VP on the right side. That will be the new squad of stormtroopers. And once again, singularities just... They do catch one Ogren and one stormtrooper. But they've just been very lackluster this game. He's not had the luxury of being able to set them up. Bestn00b has basically made sure that the D-cannon is not going to be as effective as it could be. And also he's set up at some odd angles. Once again, now you see where in tier 2 the stormtroopers were a really good capping unit. Well, when you have Seer Council that can hop out of any gate they like, that's going to be 400 wreck down the drain. And once again, Bestn00b loses sight of what's going on in the bottom right corner and loses another unit. But speaking of losing sight, oh my god, Bloodra1n has just been absolutely annihilated. He lost both. He lost the Bright Lance team and the D-cannon and a Guardian squad. And it is only, I think, because of his Seer Council and the fact that he has got a lot of resources in the bank that he didn't just quit right then. Because, oh my god, that was absolutely devastating. Manticore setting up the perfect opportunity for those wipes.
So that's 100 points.
And the Avatar's coming out, and it's not such a bad choice. An Eldritch going down, he really wants to catch those Ogryns, and he does, he gets the bunker too. Well, you know, it was looking incredibly devastating there for Bloodra1n, but I've got to admit, now with the Ogryns dead and that bunker destroyed, it's not looking as decisive. Bestn00b repurchasing the Ogryns, which I don't know, but then at the same time, I'm not really sure what I would do in Bestn00b's position. Is he can, well, I was going to say he can try to save for a vehicle, but he can't. He's pretty much gotten very little power income. And that is his fault. He hasn't repurchased any power. He's just been bleeding out and playing this one incredibly strangely.
Strategic point spotted here.
And now the Avatar is out.
Message received.
These guys are going back for the cat, but the Seer Council are wise to it. They could probably just hide in the gate, really. They don't need to be outside, because they are spotted.
Eldar weapons beam is engaged.
I think one of the...
We failed our mission.
Well, okay. I was going to say one of the most interesting things in this game is how Bloodra1n has just come back from that. So slowly, so methodically, but I think that's proof of it. He sees the Avatar and he throws in the towel, and honestly, I don't think I can blame him. That's not really a sight you want to see as a guardsman. But yeah, very interesting game. Nice to see the other side of Eldar play, which doesn't rely on Banshees, and how strong they can be as this ranged, defensive powerhouse with those shields. And also interesting to see how Bestn00b's quirky playstyle gets counted. But enough of my rambling. I think it's time for the score screen.